Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to stand and we want you to make some noise.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go racing here at Knoxville.
Only the best go three abreast.
It is show time at Williams Grove Speedway.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here at Eldora Speedway, it's showtime!
You've got a for a breath. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the world of outlaws.
It's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy because, ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime!
Set to do battle for 30 laps. The green flag is waving.
Hello again. It is Wing Nation talking sprint car racing, our favorite time of the week. We're so glad you joined us. Erin Evernham, Steve Post, and we are joined this week from the great state of Oregon by Tanner Holmes. Hello, Tanner. How are you?
Hey, great to talk to you guys today, man. I'm doing good out here. Just enjoying the Northwest for a little bit and hoping to get some racing in soon.
Tanner, you're a young racer, 21 years old. You've just come off from a 3 or 4 week road trip. We'll talk obviously about the road trip because the results were pretty good, but what's it like to roll back into home and sleep in your own bed and have your own race cars and race shop there? What's that like after a few weeks on the road?
It's great, man. I think we all obviously we love the road because that's why we do it, right? And then there's also the part of it that, my experience with Bobby Allen, the one saying I remember he always talked about, it's just part of the job. And being on the road is just part of the job, so whether you're 3,000 miles from home or, you're racing 25 minutes from the shop. But no, we had a good little road trip, like I said, got down to Vegas, Southern California, Arizona, and it was just nice to get a good stretch in, early in the season. I think if I look at some of my past schedules, I don't think I would have had almost 10 races by the end of March. So kind of nice how High Limit did it this year and really benefited some of us guys living out west, like I said, just to get some laps under our belt and be a little more prepared as we roll into the rest of the year.
Well, you definitely got more than just some laps under your belt. You had a very successful start. Talk about what it's been like to jump in the 21 with the Tarlton team.
Man, these guys, they're great. I think more than anything, our combination has just been really good. I've enjoyed racing with Drew Warner, Nate, my sister Carly's been a part of the team. So kind of just with us four, it's been a great time. I think like I said, we're realistically just having a lot of fun and clicking well. It's been nice hopping in, something a little different than what has been the package I ran before with my family car. We've always just worked really hard to have the best program that we could, but now kind of seeing something different. Obviously Tarleton team has been around for a long time. So just their experience has been helpful for me to kind of plug into and then just really work on being the best driver that I can. And what's kind of been neat as well is I feel like we've actually been at racetracks, one we've either not been to or places that maybe my results weren't where I wanted them to be in the past. So the fact that we've ran as well as we have, I'm like, now I'm really looking forward to getting to places that I would probably circle on our list to be like our hitter tracks, places we're going to run really well. So just got to keep rolling and keep working on doing the obvious things right.
What is the transition to become driver only? You're a hands-on team owner. I'm sure you're involved with every part of that 18T program. What's it like to show up at the track and just be the driver and have Drew and other people tending to a lot of it?
It's nice. I think I think anybody that tries to take on a role of, like I said, having your own program and having us where we have like my family's involved and help and all sorts of things and sponsors and partners, it's a lot different. And whatever route you end up doing, I think you obviously always are just doing it 110%. You're just giving it your all. But the fact to have an operation around you and really a program, like I said, and have someone leading the way like Drew and like Tommy Tarleton as an owner who is involved as well, just whether it's in the shop or just, being there, it's really nice to have. I think it gives me a lot of confidence as to do my job because like I said, I just know that I need to do my job well because they're just trying to do their job well. So like I said, it's been nice to see it from both angles, and it also gives me another level of appreciation too because I know what it's like to be in different roles or to play multiple roles at the same time. But no, yeah. Anyway, it's been great so far, and just looking forward to the races that we have ahead, and just trying to maximize every night at the track.
Tanner, you talked about working with Drew and a team that's been established and has had so much success. What has been maybe something you've learned from it that you can take to your own family team?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just like what a race night looks like. These guys, they just got a lot of poise, and very calm and have great preparation. So when we get to the track, right? Like it's just like check mark each box. And then if maybe we don't, start off the night right, like or we're just a little bit off, it's just like how to kind of get back on track. So I think the main thing that I felt every night is we've unloaded and hot lapped really, really well. And some people say, well, oh man, hot laps doesn't matter because it doesn't do anything for your night. Well, I always tell people hot laps is the most important because if
Uh-huh.
every night we've been in the top 10 in hot laps, we've probably finished in the top 5 or top 10 in the feature just because our speed was dead on and we weren't making any changes. And so far, we really haven't had a night where I would say we're scrambling or we're just unsure, we're scratching our heads. So for us to kind of be like on our night or two that maybe we're like, well, maybe we weren't on all the way, like we were kind of still right there with the top 10. So that's what I look for, as you're working on consistency and having those nights at the track, like I said, just to be there night in, night out. So then you can get those results. But yeah, that's been the biggest thing though, for sure, is just like really having good, consistent nights. Not necessarily just on the racetrack, but in the pit area, doing everything the same every time, wheels and tires, setup, maintenance, all that.
I'm looking at your hat. I'm thinking about a question. I'm looking at your hat, the number 21 on it, and it's the topic I have on the NASCAR side. The NASCAR side, Wood Brothers Racing is the number 21. They have a new driver, Josh Berry. He goes out and wins Las Vegas. And my question to Josh is my same one to you. What is it like to become part of the Tarlton family? Do you get a chance to sit around every once in a while, hear story hour or past successes? I can't imagine how neat that is to be ingrained in one of the great families of sprint car racing.
Absolutely, and that's really what they are. They're just good people that love the sport, and for them, like having a race team and having everyone around is just fun. Fun to go to the racetrack, be a part of it, see the car go around, obviously compete for victories. And yeah, we've already got a chance, I've spent actually quite a bit of time, down in Fresno. So I'm from Oregon, but they're down in Fresno about almost 8 hours south of me. So I spent quite a bit of time just at the shop. And that's one thing I really enjoy, just that, like I said, just being there together, and that builds a lot on then what continues once you get to the racetrack. So yeah, no, there's a lot of great families in sprint car racing, and there's quite a few of them out here on the West Coast. So just to get to spend some time with them has been a huge blessing. And like I said, just looking forward to what we have ahead.
Now we know the Tarleton team made their plans announced early in the year that James McFadden is coming midsummer. Was there a moment that there was a temptation to keep running high limit? You had such a great start. I mean, I know the plans are set and J Mac's a great guy, but man, it must have been hard to pull off the road.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that there was it kind of was a big joke in our pit area, right? Like, and I don't know how necessarily serious it was for them. And, for me, I kind of, obviously I had just thrown it out the window because obviously we have kind of this set schedule, and also like the Tarleton team, like they're a West Coast team. And man, if they really wanted to go national racing, like they could probably put something together and go do it. But like I said, it kind of goes back to like racing for them is fun for their family. It's fun to be in the area. It's fun to go on like, hey, we're going to go on a trip here. We're going to go run for 3 or 4 weeks, or we're going to go to the Nationals, or we're going to go to Eldora. And so like for them, I think they really like to just keep it in that box because like I said, that's where it's fun, and it's not too much or it's not too little, and it just keeps it, kind of very, very level. But yeah, no, we definitely were talking about it quite a bit. Like, man, well, how would it look? And then also too with Vado, with the wind, and then the weather this weekend is like, well, technically we're still in the points, so we'll just kind of see how things roll. We'll see how things roll. And I will admit too, I had a moment in my head. I was like, well, I have my own car. Like, how would it look with my schedule if I could get to those races? And then, but it's just, it's just a lot, going back and forth. But definitely very tempting, and really cool the season start that we've had to be in the top 10 in points. And with a few things, moved around differently, we could have been, without a blown tire, without some of that, we might have been, even farther up. So yeah, it's just been neat to be in the running with them.
Neat to have these opportunities and conversations. May not go anywhere, but it is neat. Now, you're going to run this weekend down at Silver Dollar Speedway in Chico, but then you are getting ready for a little Midwest road trip. Where are you headed, and what's the objectives in that Tarleton 21, over the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, for sure. So I think we've had quite, obviously challenging starts in the sense with really good competition out here with High Limit. We're going to run with NARC this weekend. And then, yeah, we're going to be with the Outlaw. Right now our schedule weather-wise is we're going to be with the Outlaws in Knoxville for the season opener. So, I mean, I feel like that's going to be a big weekend. Probably quite a few cars just because High Limit's not running. And then we're supposed to be with the Outlaws the following weekend at Jacksonville, Hobstadt. And then Eldora for Let's Race 2 is the plan. So really kind of focusing on that because Knoxville will be good for laps for later in the year, even though I won't be in the 21 for the Nationals. Like any laps at Knoxville are valuable, just like any laps at Eldora are valuable. In Eldora, I haven't been even as much as Knoxville, so it'll be nice to get there in a different car. And if we can continue kind of our speed, how well we've been in the slick and stuff, I think that'll help around that half mile. But yeah, we'll run with them through Eldora, and then we're going to try to pick up a couple maybe high limit shows on the way back. Back across to the West Coast, and then kind of race out our little stint here before James McFadden shows up with some NARC shows in California. So it's been a really healthy mix so far. Like I said, a lot of challenging shows, but we'll also get a chance to run some more regional races with NARC and kind of see where we're at with things as we run that. And but then, like I said, also have some big challenges coming up with 2 big weekends with Knoxville and Eldora.
I mean, man, that's a lot of logistics. And then you throw in there, you have plan A, but if it rains, you have plan B and C. Who takes care of your logistics? Is that something you do? Do you go ride with the team? Do you fly in and out? How do you work all that out?
Yeah, no, it is a lot. And like I said, so I totally understand that side because having our own program, like last year, we were in the same
Yeah.
boat. We're back there and we're driving, you're driving 5, 6 hours, then they tell you it's raining out, then you're driving back. And so like with our own program, it's tough because we're kind of just making decisions on the fly and trying to be smart or be at least parked somewhere centrally located so you can go every direction. But so with Tarleton, Drew basically kind of runs the program. So he's going to be taking the rig out. I'm going to be taking the plan right now is I'm going to be taking my t-shirt trailer. So I'll be driving from Oregon. So I'll be driving across pickup truck and whatnot. And I'm sure we'll be pretty close. And then, yeah, like I said, basically how we're looking at our trip is we're going out there for Knoxville and Eldora. So those are the main priorities. If we can get those races in and it's looking pretty good, we're going to be parked there for both of those. Just like I said, because that is going to be for those guys, when James races later in the year, like then it'll be nice. They're going to have a car on track that have ran those 2 places to prepare for Kings Royal and the Nationals. And for me, same boat, even though it's not the same car, just to get that preparation then for my own stuff for I go, I'm going to be at those races as well. So just like I said, it's more just looking at the big picture of things than, maybe, running here, running there while we're back there.
Yeah, but then you get to do Jacksonville and Hobstadt. Then you get to have the fun too. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
that's like everyone's. I was talking to Ross Weiss up in Millbridge last week, and he said the best weekend of the year for the World of Outlaws is not Knoxville, it's not Eldora, it is the Jacksonville Hobstadt weekend. So you get to throw that in as well.
For sure. No, and it's funny talking to guys because, just chatting, when people are asking what our schedule is, the reactions are very mixed. Either some people seem like they love that weekend or some people would rather just keep on driving down the road. So I haven't been to either of those places, so I'll kind of get a firsthand experience. The good news is we've already done well, little smaller bull rings have been something that I thought were a little more challenging for myself, but I do come from the West Coast and every race I've ran so far with these guys on the bull rings, I've felt really comfortable. So it'll be nice to kind of see what we can do there at those 2 places.
Tanner, when you were given the rundown of the crew, you mentioned Drew, but you mentioned your sister Carly. What all
Yep.
is what all does Carly do, and what's her involvement with both teams? I guess.
Yeah, so Carly, man, Carly, she's amazing, really. So she's my younger sister, and she kind of right now her role is so she's helping them, and she's going to help for every night that I'm going to be running. And a lot of that too was because once I move back to my own car, the 21 in our car will like kind of be like teammates, you would say, or like in an alliance. So we're going to be working a lot together, still not just like 2 cars in the pit area. So she's been working a lot with them to kind of be in the know of exactly what we're doing over there. But then also she's like my full-time person here. So we have our cars here at the shop. And stuff for us is pretty much ready to go. Minus, we're waiting on some graphics and a few little things. But yeah, so she's like, for the most part, working full time on race cars, whether it's down there, whether it's here. And, she's kind of done it all and can do it all. I think like the only thing she doesn't have is maybe obviously the 20 or 30 years of experience, what to do when and that's the thing. But she can put a car together with her eyes closed. She can mount 20 tires. And I don't know how, but she was just born with that. Like she just has that natural ability to work on stuff. That's just her God-given talent. So she does a really good job and it's been nice. She's worked on a couple different teams that I ran with as well as also built our program. So, obviously that's super valuable to have and good help is hard to come by. So it's nice when it's blood, so.
Yeah.
That's awesome to hear. Speaking, a woman in racing makes my heart happy, and someone who you speak so highly of your sister and can do everything on the car. How cool. So you grew up outlaw kart racing. Did she race with you? And talk about outlaw karts. I think it's been fascinating. We've seen obviously Kyle Larson and Rico, and so many of you come from that outlaw kart pocket in California. Just talk about what that does as far as fundamentals and really getting you prepped for sprint cars.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, yeah, Carly and I always raced together growing up. I obviously got started, I'm 3 years older than her, so I got started a little sooner. But yeah, we raced basically between where we're at in Southern Oregon, to about 3, 4 hours south is where they kind of run really heavily in Northern California. But I always tell people outlaw carts are like, so I felt like crucial for myself and a lot of the people coming up just because how fast they are. Like they're similar to a 410 sprint car in that way. You sit so low to the ground. So everything happens kind of like that. On top of it, in like anything, they've only gotten more horsepower, but same power to weight ratio as a 410 sprint car. And like I said, everything just happens so quickly. So when you're racing around guys on a racetrack where you're running 8-second laps, the slide jobs, the
Yeah.
crossovers, when a
Yeah.
guy blows by you on the bottom, on the top, like it just and don't get me wrong, sometimes it's impossible not to hit people because like it's just such a small track and
Yeah.
everyone has so much power, but I would say what's nice is they have a variety of different places you can race and you can race all year round. So that's probably the
Mhm.
other thing. Like maybe a micro, for example, you're not able to race really indoors. Well, our carts, you can run 15 or 20 races in the winter and you can run, 30 or 40 shows maybe in the summer. So all of a sudden now you have a 50 or 60 race schedule for a kid that's 7 years old. And there's kids out there that are doing it. So that's the main thing I would say that's pretty impressive for them. It's maybe not necessarily they are incredible to drive and I think they teach you a lot, but I mean the seat time is like it's unreal what you can do from such a young age. And like I said, there's kids out there doing it and you're seeing them progress so much faster just because their track time is through the roof.
Rico told me one time the Outlaw carts provided him really great background for the 410 sprint cars because of the size and the scope and everything like that. It's almost like some of the slide jobs and everything seem like they're in slow motion compared to Outlaw carts. Is that kind of an accurate assessment?
It actually is. Yeah, like I said, I felt like the 410 for me was more what felt more normal once it got to
Yeah.
that. But like when I was running the 360 and stuff, like I was like, man, this feels really slow because like it just takes so much time to move around. Where like I said, the carts, like you're driving around, guys, or you're cutting across the surface, like everything, is like that. And also too, like to be fast in them, the guys are barely moving their hands. So you have to be so smooth because you don't have suspension. So you don't have as much, steer left and then counter steer right. So like I said, it's just an interesting car to drive. And then yeah, like I said, the competition levels, the guys that have come from them, you could look back 10 or 15 years and you look at fields, like I said, with Larson and with Logan Seavey and with Rico
Mhm.
and these guys that now go on to do such big things. So that's obviously been super helpful to have that recognition now into the karting ranks to get some eyes on, the kids coming up. But yeah, I just, I come from that. I still even run them to this day just because they're fun, here and there. Why sit on the couch in the wintertime when you can race a little bit? But yeah, so like, so I'm always a big advocate just, for people to look into them and keep an eye on, like I said, who's coming up because I think those are probably some of the future stars from at least the West Coast out here.
Yeah. Tanner, how did you get into racing? Was it something in your family? Did you just go to the track one day? How did you get started?
Yeah, so I do not come from a racing background. So I always tell people I'm very lucky that I'm in the spot that I'm in because my dad didn't race and my mom didn't race and they weren't even really fans. Just so happened my father had a family business. And he was working for a client, and the guy had a cart for sale. And it wasn't even my dad that was interested. It was actually my dad's buddy. He's like, "You should get that for Tanner. You should buy this cart." And so basically, my dad had to get convinced to just get me into the sport. And then once we obviously got into it and started running, about I was 5 years old, so 2008, 2009, and then it kind of just snowballed from there. All of a sudden, 5 races, 1 year turns into 10 to 15 to 20, and then once we discovered Red Bluff, Cycland, all these tracks, like we realized how much we could race. And I would just say we're the type of family, most racers are like you just go all in, right, pretty quickly. So, like I said, you start running, you get competitive, and you want to do it to the best. So for me, like I just got into the karting stuff, and I haven't necessarily ran a lot of different cars. Like I just ran karting all my younger years until I got in a sprint car, 14 or 15 years old. So that's really just what we ran as much as we could and kind of filled up our schedule to get me the skills and everything I needed to try to continue to move on.
Tanner, you have so much going on with the Tarleton 21 and your own 18T and even some outlaw carts on the side. The entire YouTube journey, and you do a spectacular job on your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Where did this idea come from, and what was your initial thought process in forming this YouTube channel that now has more than 80,000 subscribers?
Yeah, so I mean, I started the channel in 2016, and I think a lot of it came from, I had a little inspiration from the people around me, kind of, maybe saying like, "Hey, maybe you have a gift to talk. You should look into,
Hmm.
maybe ways to use that." And then on top of that, I was just a big like YouTube viewer as a kid, and I think that's kind of when it started to grow. YouTube's been around since 2006, but I would say like 2011, 12, 13 on like is when it really started to build traction. So I found myself watching like people that I didn't even know that were playing sports that I had never even heard of. Like I remember watching a professional scooter rider, and I remember watching some kid that did like flips and stuff. And I always like was like, wow, that's crazy that these guys have millions of followers, and I had no idea who they were. So it kind of clicked in my head that maybe people would follow what I do because obviously, motorsports and dirt racing people know about, but there's a lot of different classes and divisions. So I'm like, I'm just gonna give this a go and see what happens. And so I was 13 years old. I always tell people I don't recommend watching some of the first videos because everything starts a little rough. But now 1,500 videos later or so,
Wow.
it's been a really cool journey, and it's mainly for me just been something like no different than racing. Like you just have to stick with it, and things happen fast, so you're just kind of one video to the next, and coming up with ideas. Or a lot of it too is not even necessarily like idea based videos. It's basically just like what happened. So like if we have a good night at the track, like you would call it a good video, and if you have a bad night at the track, then they followed along for what was a struggle. But yeah, I think for us it's just important. Like it's always been important to me to keep things pretty real, like not sugarcoat it. Like hey, there's some nights that I suck, some nights the car sucks, some nights there was nothing we could do, and then some nights we were the hero. So for me, like I just looked at it more as the journey, and then my long-term goal was maybe depending on where I ended up one day, whether it was I gave it my best shot and I didn't make it, or if one day I was a champion of the Outlaws or High Limit, then the whole journey was there in front of people. They could go back and watch basically every episode. So that was kind of how it turned into, and why I've stuck with it now almost 9 years.
Wow, that's awesome. So is the end goal, the long-term goal, World of Outlaw High Limit, or are there aspirations to go IndyCar, NASCAR, something beyond?
Yeah, I think for the long term, for the most part, is I just want to be a dirt racer. Like I'm
Mhm.
totally content. And I feel like probably, obviously, I'm 21, almost 22 years old now, so the opportunities on some of the other sides of things are definitely more limited at my age. But if there was ever an opportunity to, to run a couple asphalt races or something, I would absolutely jump on it just to do it. Like I'd love to do it and say I done it, or that kind of thing. But for the most part, no, I'm kind of all in on just, I want to be a 410 sprint car racer. And I feel like things are such an interesting time. I remember
Mm.
maybe it was last year. Shane Stewart now retired, obviously, and he was we were in Oklahoma at one of the races, and he's said to you young guys, like really soak in what's going on right now because it's just so special. What the Outlaws are, doing, what High Limit's doing, kind of the competition of it, and how things are kind of starting to grow. And everyone's kind of one up in each other. It's just interesting times, and there's obviously, more money involved, more big races, and I think maybe some more fan reach than ever. So for me, like I just kind of want to take advantage of that, and be a part of it. And like I said, we've worked so long and hard to get here. Now it's just about, like I said, whether it's with my own program or with a team like Tarleton, just, basically going out and being the best we can be each night.
And you've talked about this, and you just spoke about it on from a national level with High Limit and World of Outlaws, but on the West Coast, it's gotten crazy as well.
Yeah.
What's going on at Skagit? What's going on?
Yeah.
What Brad and Kyle and Colby are doing down at Silver Dollar Speedway? The money out west is getting better also.
For sure. No, you're not wrong. Yeah, like I mean, I always tell people like, man, the biggest race of my year that I circle is the Dirt Cup because
Yeah.
it's a race where there's going to most likely be a non-national guy that's going to walk home with over 60
Mhm.
grand in one night. And we're going to have over 10,000 people in attendance. Like it's just an awesome dirt event. So yeah, so like for me, like yeah, that's part of why we're also still out here a little bit. Like as much as I was trying to get my own program out to the Midwest, like it's not bad for me to be out here too, and like I said, hitting a lot of different places as I continue to try to grow. And it's really cool to see what they're doing up there in Skagit. I mean, can't say enough good things about Kevin Rudine, Blake Anderson, all the people involved. Like basically we almost have like a Knoxville out here on the West Coast, and then hopefully that will trickle around to more places, and they can continue to kind of build local NARC, whatever it is. And so then basically what we have out here is very similar to what we got in the Midwest.
Here, man. That is really, really good. Like to go off track just a little bit. I was snooping around on your website. Erin knows where I'm going with this one.
It's got to be food.
Yes, it's got to be food. Your favorite foods, burgers and sweet potato fries.
Yeah.
Now, sweet potato fries, that's a
Yum.
strong. Now, are you a salt guy? What do you like on your sweet potato fries?
I'm pretty basic. Yeah, just salt. And I mean, I people might clown on me, but I just love ketchup. Like ketchup and fries is good. Like
Yeah.
that's pretty basic. But yeah, everywhere I go, if I can get sweet potato fries, that's what I'll like. I'll
Me
always,
too, actually.
always
Really?
ask
You're a
for
sweet
that.
potato
Oh yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
all about that also. Yeah, sweet potato fries.
Yeah,
So
that's
good.
where it's
Top
at.
even are the best.
Actually, I've never met a fry I didn't really like.
Well, there's
to be
that.
honest.
Yeah, has anybody had a bad French fry? Huh?
That's fair.
Yeah. The sweet potato is fascinating. Okay, we're going down food talk
Oh,
here,
boy.
okay? Because up until probably 15 years ago, I could care less about sweet potatoes. And then I was dating a girl at the time, and what she did is mashed half sweet potatoes, half regular traditional potatoes.
Interesting. A
Yeah,
combo.
a combo.
Never heard
and
of
it was
it.
like, man, that's pretty good. That's not bad. Well, then I got into sweet potatoes. Now, sweet potato, I don't necessarily do the fries because I'm probably more of a traditional fry guy. Unlike everyone else here, I'm the oddball out, which that's not abnormal.
That's not. Yeah.
That's about usual. But I do love, man, I do sweet potatoes at least
too.
once a week. I love sweet potatoes. I mean, it's just good. So kudos on that. That's good.
Yeah, I'm
Sweet
on board with
potato
that.
fries. Okay, so is there a place that has outstanding sweet potato fries?
Ooh, that I'm not sure. There's quite a few places here. If you ever get to Southern Oregon, I could point you in a couple
Okay.
good directions. Like we have a couple small like diners, which I always like that, like places that
Oh.
take you back in time. So if you ever get
Yeah.
out this way, I can point you in the direction of that. But no, we always that's one of the things probably when we're out on the road, we always of course like everyone else, you're always trying to find new places and see new areas. So that's one of the lucky parts of the job.
Love
What's your favorite racetrack food? Like, Eldora's got the pizza burgers, like
Yeah, no, the
Knoxville
pizza-
is the walking tacos.
Yeah, I would say probably the pizza burger's up there. Now I also come from an unfair perspective because I don't eat a lot on race day. So I actually don't get a chance to try out. I probably don't really try racetrack food ever just because from about noon or 1 on I don't eat nothing. And so usually I'm getting the gas station dinner after on the way from the
At
car
the
wash or
at the
whatever.
car wash. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm usually trying out.
Yeah, I used to
Okay.
be on that diet when back in my racing days.
Okay, well, I'm on the eat all day long at the racetrack diet and plan. I have the body.
Yes.
I have the body that shows for it. Okay, if you decide to eat on race day when you go to Eldora, you take the pizza burger
Oh.
and you top it. This is the Kendra Jacobs
Yeah.
special. You top it with cheese balls. You
Oh,
smush
okay.
it all down there, and oh my gosh, that's a Kendra Jacobs
That's
special.
a
and it's
heart
for the
attack
win.
and a
Well,
package.
there's that too. Exactly. So awesome, Tanner. You're one of those guys that I've been following along with for years, and it was just like finally, let's just chat. We're so glad that you spent some time with us here today. Grateful for what you do all across the platforms that you're on, from driving to owning to YouTube and everything else. We appreciate the time. And wait a minute, okay? Your last YouTube, you could not show us some things in the garage in the
Yeah.
shop. Can you tell us about it, or we're still under we still
well,
gotta
I-
hold that?
I probably can't. No, I can't yet. Like
Oh.
my vinyl guy's coming this week, so we'll be able to show you guys the cars here soon eventually. Well, it actually probably be happening while I'm gone, and then I'll have when I get back. But yeah, no.
you're
We'll just say that
killing
my
us.
car this year is a little bright. You should be able to see it.
Okay,
All right,
cool.
got a hint.
Awesome.
See
We
it.
got a hint.
We got
It's a
a
little bit the
cliffhanger.
opposite of the
Yeah.
21. The 21's a little hard to see because it's all blacked out. This will be the
That's
opposite.
right. Okay, so we got them covered. We got the bright and shiny one and the flat black badass Tarlton car. I mean,
Yep.
that's really cool. Tanner, a pleasure to chat with you. Thanks for joining us here on Wing Nation.
For sure. Thanks, guys.
There we go. Tanner Holmes joins us here on Wing Nation. Stay with us. More in just a moment.
3, 2, 1. Start your engine.
The NASCAR channel is streaming now, exclusively on Tubi. Go deeper into NASCAR with 24/7 news, documentaries, and explore the vault of timeless NASCAR stories and unforgettable races. From crushing defeats to the thrill of victory. The NASCAR channel, always on, always free. Only on Tubi.
Welcome back. It is Wing Nation. Erin, he's 21 years old.
So
I-
well spoken.
Together,
Yeah.
I mean, just he has his own team. He's driving for one of the premier teams. man,
Gets the social media part. His sister's involved.
respect.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Humble.
everything. I mean, what a great talent he is. Wow, Tanner Holmes. Follow his YouTube. Hey, here's the gang with the small YouTube page telling you to follow the big YouTube page. Follow his YouTube if you want to get. It's really cool stuff behind the scenes. He does a great job with it behind the scenes, and it's just fantastic. So, one thing that's not been fantastic, Aaron, is this darned weather.
Yeah.
Last
Yeah.
weekend, I don't know how many we had scheduled. I know I don't have the notes. Wait a minute.
There was a lot.
There was a
scheduled.
lot. Okay, I can go back here on my notes. Okay, from last week. Boom, boom, boom. Let me punch this in. Okay, last week we talked about World of Outlaws at Arrowhead. We had Kubota High Limits in Texas and Kansas. We had IRA and MOA openers, King of the Wested Ocean, Williams Grove, Wayne County, and Farmington Empire. Those were just the season openers.
Yeah.
All gone.
Well, that weather in the Midwest was just
brutal.
scary. I mean, seriously, thoughts and prayers to people.
Yeah.
Even our friends in Indianapolis were taking cover, and there was a tornado near TSR. It was crazy.
John Force Racing took a big hit. Cruz Pedregon's shop that is right behind it, and TSR right behind it, did not get anything.
Yeah.
John Force Racing, that they're next door neighbors. I was up there.
Yeah.
You've got Tony's down at the end of the cul-de-sac. Cruz's shop is there, and John Force is obviously 2/3 of the block, but they took a hit on the weather. So absolutely. I mean, we're moaning and whining about no sprint car racing, but there's far more serious issues than that.
It was. I'm a bit of a weather nerd, and I follow some storm chasers, and it was unbelievable. Yeah, there's some really good ones. It's pretty wild. I mean, it's like the movie Twister. They're going into them, and they've got the vehicles. It's pretty cool.
It's like good or bad?
Well, they're
said there's
trying
some
to
good ones.
research and learn from them, so I guess it's good. But you got to be a little crazy.
I think this is going way off the reservation, and it goes.
Sorry, I kind of went there.
No. It goes to this conversation. It goes to Tanner Holmes, and it goes to a conversation we had before the show. My daughter is traveling in Southeast Asia and is looking to become an influencer.
Yeah.
And I just think we're in this world where whether it's storm chasing or sprint car drivers or traveling influencers, I absolutely love. We can talk about all what's wrong with the world and all what's wrong with social media, and there's a lot that's wrong with that.
Of course.
But boy, there's a lot of good out there,
and
a
there's
lot
some
of
stuff you're
fascinating
interested
things.
in.
You're interested in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
Exactly.
You can spend hours sitting staring at your.
Oh, you go down that rabbit hole. That's it. Well, nobody spent much time at the sprint car track.
Yeah,
See how
a
I
lot of
wound that
screen
right down
time.
around? A lot of screen time. Well, not even that. The fabulous Lincoln Speedway, and what they did is they announced on Saturday morning they're going like 2 hours early, and they hustled the show along. And Anthony Macri picked up his second win of the season. Man, that guy Dallas, man, he took a flip. He took the head.
That was nasty.
Man, that was bad. But so Anthony Macri was the only 410 winner this weekend. Okay. The other big news, which was last week, Jacob Allen stepping aside. Shark Racing will continue, and he will continue with Shark Racing in a management role. Driver to be announced. The speculation is out there and everything, and you don't have to go too far to find out what the name is going to be. But I'm not going to break it. We don't do that. That's not how we operate on there. But Jacob has always been a unique individual, a unique young man from a unique family.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about his dad, when you think about his raising, when you think about everything, and Jacob marches to his own drummer, and just all we can do is wish the best for him as he goes through this next phase of life.
Yeah, and you know what? You give him credit for sticking to his intuition. You know what? I don't think I want to drive. I've got a family now. I want to be involved in management. Yeah, all the power to him. You know, he's always been, as you say, your daughter is a free spirit.
Yeah, I have a daughter. My daughter's a free spirit too, and I understand.
I like that he's not afraid what people are going to say, or he's never been. He's just he's his own person.
This goes back to a few years ago when he decided to set out of Bristol, and it's just like, oh, dude, I'm not sure I'd do that. I'm not sure I'd say that was too fast, but he did.
Yeah.
This was when he decided a couple of years ago that his mental health was not where it needed to be. The irony of it is that then you start talking to other people and they're like, man, I wish I'd have taken a little break.
Yeah.
I'm wore out. I'm tired. Now
was crazy fast.
Yes, exactly. It's almost, notice we're not at Bristol anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Notice guys like Brent Marks and Danny Dietrich schedule weekends off.
Yep.
notice that, Jacob tends to be out in front of some of these things and way more dramatic and very more public. His post, he goes real public.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, 2 years later, we're not at Bristol Racing. Drivers are scheduling off weekends because of their mental health, the crew members, and that sort of thing. Jacob's just a fascinating guy. He's just a fascinating guy. And then even more fascinating is when he announces that he's got more races this year than he's ever had before, which you're like, how does that match up with everything? But and here we are, and it's just part of the beauty of Jacob Allen. And I think the world of him because I think he lives his life as Jacob Allen wants to live his life. And boy, who doesn't really want to do that?
Yeah.
And if you think about it, maybe, being who his dad is and what his dad built, this management role that he's looking at could be right up his alley. This could be something that he really excels at.
Yeah, absolutely. What Bobby Allen has done with that team. I mean, that team was 2 cars and a beat up old transporter going up and down the highway. They didn't even know that they could make it into the state of California with DOT. They didn't know with the condition of the trailer that they'd make it out of the state. The damn McLean brothers down here in South Carolina have picked them up on 85 or 95 multiple times. And look at them now. Look at the whole team now. And that's Bobby Allen. Maybe Jacob's got some of that.
Yep.
I mean, and that'll help the 1A car, what he can do to help Logan. Logan had a really, really nice post about Jake and how he's looking forward to how this works out for Jake and how it works out for him. So I don't know. Yeah, stay tuned. That's the beauty of Shark Racing. Stay tuned. And I that's why we love them folks so much, because you just never really know what you're going to get coming down. Logan could go out and win every major race this year, and that wouldn't surprise anybody. He's got the won that $1 million race a couple years ago. All right. Sprint Car Hall of Fame birthday calendar yesterday. Jack Hodenshield, Hank Shirts, Tom Marchese, or Marchese, I guess it is. Johnny Thompson later this week. Emmett Malloy, Buzz Rose. Frank Lockhart today would have been Marcia Shorty Bing. And today is the birthday of Bobby Davis Jr. Want to know the first time I met Bobby Davis Jr.?
What was the first time?
We were doing Port Royal, the Weichert Memorial. And you know how things are around this place sometimes with budgets. We got to save a few bucks here. We got to save a few bucks there. Postman, we have you flying in Saturday morning to Harrisburg. You need to beat feeder right up to Port Royal, but we don't necessarily want to spend money on a rental car. Guess who's landing at the same time you are? Bobby Davis Jr. And I met him in the Avis rental line at Harrisburg Airport.
Interesting.
Jump in the car and up the road we go, up 322 or whatever it is, up the Susquehanna River to Port Royal. We had the best visit. And man, I'll tell you, Bobby Davis Jr., what a cool guy. And then, okay, so now his story, I'll remind me to come back to Port Royal that weekend. Let's talk about 17 years old. He was the Knoxville Nationals Rookie of the Year. At 18 years old, he won the World of Outlaws at Devil's Bowl. And then he got a call from Bob Weichert. You imagine that? 18 years old and Bob Weichert calls. 1983 was the Williams Grove Speedway track champion. Ohio Speedway champ, won the Tuscarora 50. You imagine standing on the front stretch at Port Royal when Bob Weichert grabs the microphone and says, this young man whooped all your favorite drivers this week and he's going to lap the field next week. You got to just be like, what have I done?
Yeah.
He shared that with us. We did all kinds of shows up there with him. He was great. Okay. Gambler House Car, Casey Luna. He was the 1989 World of Outlaw champion, Kings Royal winner, Western World winner. He retired very young, 1996, class of 2014 Sprint Car Hall of Fame. Okay, back to Port Royal. Okay, roll in there. And I'm like, there's never been a fanfare when I've rolled into Port Royal before.
Oh, you haven't had a big...
No, I've not. I just roll in there. And
hard to believe.
I know you do. I know. At least the Packers concession folks are usually glad when I roll in there, you know. But no. And there's all these people. And I'm like, this is a little different. They were all women. When Bobby Davis came there as the 18-year-old, he had those blue eyes and that hair. Oh my gosh, Aaron, they were in love with him. And it didn't change much a couple of years ago. I am telling you, I mean, you want to talk about who's the fat doofy guy riding with Bobby Allen? Get out of the way. We're trying to take pictures of Bobby Davis Jr. arriving here at Port Royal. These ladies are still smitten in Juniata County. They're still smitten by him. Yes, absolutely. Oh, yeah, they were all twisted up. Oh, I'm telling you, man, oh man, I couldn't believe that. It was the funniest thing in the world. I'm like, I think it was Todd or somebody, one of the white, maybe Ike or Todd. They're like, yeah, the ladies always did like him when he came up here, and apparently that hasn't changed too much.
That's
Yep.
awesome.
So yes,
Good.
Bobby Davis Jr. His birthday today. So happy birthday, Bobby. I know you're probably not listening, probably not watching because you're just living your best life, and I think that's awesome as well. All right, Erin, returning this week.
All-Star Circuit of Champions.
How about that? Yes.
That's awesome to see. Friday, Saturday, they have the Spring Nationals at Attica, 7,500 to win on Saturday. They have 28 races across 5 states planned.
Fingers crossed for Rich Farmer and that gang.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious to see where this all goes. And I certainly wish, and I said this, I was on the Racing Boys yesterday with Scott and Kirk, and I said, if the All-Stars succeed, it's because of hard work by Rich Farmer.
Yeah.
If the All-Stars fail, it's not because of a lack of hard work by Rich Farmer. Rich will roll up his sleeves and work this thing likely to success. I'd be shocked if it's not successful, but it's going to be cool, and it's all on flow. World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars, Erin.
Friday, Saturday, Federated Auto Parts Speedway in Peevely.
Yes. Now, Central Pennsylvania. Okay, let's give you the rundown. Friday night, Williams Grove. They have the remainder of the opening night feature plus a full show. Sealands Grove opens with the new Friday night sprint car program. So a lot of interest there in that. Saturday, the fabulous Lincoln Speedway, and Port Royal has the Lynn Paxton Tribute Race. Sunday, Baps Motor Speedway. My plan, as of sitting right now, we're recording this 12:43 on a Tuesday. My plan is to go. But the weather forecast looks absolutely god-awful horrible for Friday and Saturday. And right now, probably not. If it stays the same, I'm waiting. I got an update.
Pull out the flip phone.
Okay, yeah, I've got an update now.
Got the flip phone out.
Okay, so, Saturday, it's down. Okay, I'm getting this from Ashley. Okay. I said, what's the weather look like? Danny Dietrich's weather forecast is there was all kinds of nasty words.
Danny's negative?
Yeah, and Danny's okay.
And
Ashley's Ashley's isn't much better. Oh. Okay. I said, what's the weather look like for Saturday up there? It's only 70%.
Only.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance.
90% on Thursday and Friday. That is what I'd be concerned about. They've had a decent amount of rain and the wet grounds up there.
So looks like you're.
Well, the worst part about it is
what modifies or at Hickory.
No, I've got a chance to do some work at Millbridge on Saturday night or something like that. So probably out to Millbridge beyond Dirt Vision Saturday night. It looks like if this is where my decision goes. The worst part about it is I was planning on going to LZ's on Friday afternoon and planning to go to get pretzel
It was
bowls.
really the food journey. Yeah.
I mean, isn't it always?
Racing secondary. It's all about the food.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. But it's awful tough to describe on expense reports.
You went for food.
I went for food and not for sprint cars, and so fingers crossed. I hope. I hope. But right now, things is if follow along. If one of these tracks gets racing, Babs doesn't look bad for Sunday. Go support your local racetrack up there, man. Oh man, Lord knows they need it. King of the West and Tanner talked about this just a little bit. Mini Gold Cup, 10,000 to win at Silver Dollar Speedway in Chico, California. So, let's hope we get a little break with this weather.
Yeah.
And I know I'm whining about it, being selfish, whining about Central Pennsylvania, but you think about these tracks and these teams and everything like that. I'll go to a race. I'm home. It's nothing. I just feel for everybody. These tracks are just taking a beating. Williams Grove, that was 3 weeks late, I think, on the opener, and it got rained out with 5 laps in. And the rain out of the rain out might get rained out. And then, that was my concern. Ashley really, and I literally was just reading Ashley on the fly. I hadn't read that in the past. That was my concern, is how much rain have you guys had
already
there?
got, yeah.
And it sounds really.
If it's anything like here, we've gotten a ton.
It's been
recently.
brutal.
We went through a giant drought, and now we're.
Yeah, unreal.
But the pollen's gone.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Pollen.
It's crazy. So our message to you is this. If there is a sprint car race around you, A, be grateful, and B, go. Because there's a lot of people not able to go to sprint car races because of what we're dealing with. So let's hope, and let's hope that this, and it's Ashley and I talked about this when she was filling in a couple of weeks ago. We love, could not state the word love the icebreaker so much. Not sure about between the icebreaker and about now.
Yeah.
You get into it, but you can occasionally hit a home run. You can occasionally hit a home run and knock it out. But this
and
is
they did to start.
To start, absolutely. So we'll see what happens with it. So get out and support your local racetrack. We are grateful for Tanner Holmes. What a great chance to catch up with that young man, and we certainly wish him well. And we are grateful that you have joined us this time here on Wing Nation on the Motor Racing Network.